Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Next slide. I'm Nitsan, I'm an ECE student. But I grew up in Israel and I moved here, or I moved to Palo Alto rather, in 5th grade. I'm pursuing a lot of things here. I'm pursuing mostly ECE, but my main, or not my main, some of my other passions are line music, programming, and also education and helping others and just contributing to my community as much as I can. So on campus, I do a few things. I'm the artistic director of the Originals. I helped found Phi Delta Theta, which is a fraternity that's now in the Greek Quad. I'm the student supervisor for the SIXL program at Academic Development. I was an OC for The Hill for 2 years. I've done a couple SNS shows and I've done a couple independent productions, most recently Polka Dots, which was on Monday if you were there. So that's like a lot of things. And sometimes people ask me often how I do all these things, and the answer is like often that I don't. And that's like a weird answer, but I don't have time to do all those things, right? And usually they hopefully don't all occur at the same time. And when they do, things fall through the cracks. And when they do, I just do my best to make sure that someone's got me covered and that someone can step in for me. Next slide. People tell me I smile a lot, and that's kind of the headline of the talk. I don't particularly notice that I smile a lot, so I guess that's nice to hear. But I'm a generally happy person, and I know that I think that makes me happy is making other people happy. And that's like a very selfish thing almost. But I really do like brightening other people's days, and that does make me happy every day. But there are obviously, like everyone here, everyone has hardships, and I do carry some chips on my shoulders. But as I was writing and thinking about this talk and reflecting on my time here, I realized that my accomplishments here would be nothing without the network and the support and the friendships and the relationships that I've built here. And I think that's really what I can attribute my success to. And it sounds kind of like silly or almost like, why am I going to a $250,000 tuition university? But I think that it really is my biggest accomplishment here outside of whatever grades or whatever jobs I get out of this. So I want to tell you about my family history a little bit and then go into how I got here and what brought me here. So this is my family. But I'm going to start, I'm going to rewind 100 years now. So going back to my grandfather's grandfather, he was a soldier in the Austrian-Hungarian army for the king of Austria-Hungary. And he fought in World War I, and something happened there. We're going to skip a couple years. My grandfather and his parents lived in Austria once the country split, and his family owned a local bank. And I'm going to keep the story a little shorter, but essentially what happened at that point, we're now at like 1935, my grandfather's neighbor actually ratted his family out as Jews breaking some rule that was at the time set in Austria. And actually that is what ended up, the consequence of this was that his parents' bank and business and all their belongings then went to the Nazi regime. And my grandfather and everyone in the family actually ended up being sent to different concentration camps. So my grandfather and his sister were sent to separate camps, but they individually worked because they were young. And that was actually the last time my grandfather saw his parents. So actually at the end of World War II, the only survivors from my family, or from my dad's side of the family, from World War II were my grandfather and his sister, but actually they didn't meet for another 20 to 30 years afterwards. And the reason my grandfather survived in those conditions is because he was lucky enough to have, when he escaped, his uncle at the time took care of him when he got really sick immediately after escaping. He was like in not a good shape, and luckily there was someone around to help him. And I think for me, so there's a reason I told this story, and it's because helping others, whether they're in your family or just in your nearby community, and caring for other people is really the reason I'm here, right? Like, I wouldn't be alive if that wasn't the case. Yeah, eventually my grandfather made it to Israel, and he met his wife and raised my dad and his sister. And interestingly enough, both my parents were raised with the values of always valuing education before anything else, and also knowing that in the house, no matter what the financial situation was, there will always be money for education, for books, for paper, pencils, whatever. There would always be money to provide them with education. And that's how my parents raised me. And for that reason, I always valued my education, even in times of hardship. During the recent recession, my parents assured me that always. Yeah, so now moving another like 50 years forward, I was born. And I was born in the States, and I grew up in Israel for the majority of my single-digit age life. And then I moved to, no slide yet, sorry. Then I moved to Palo Alto. I eventually attended Gun High School, so now next slide. And have any of you seen this article? How many of you have seen this article float around? Yeah. So this article is actually written about my high school. When I was a freshman in high school, there were 5 kids that committed suicide in a very quick succession. And I knew like quite a few of them. And then strangely enough, this continued to happen for the next like 3 to 4 years. And then it kind of died, like dwindled out a little bit. And then just recently, there were a few more, like as I've been here at CMU. And obviously this is like a awful story, but what I'm trying to point out is that I've been dealing with stress culture issues since my freshman year. And that's really when that like enlightened me that there's like a huge problem at Gun High School, right? And it was tough. It was hard. And really the hardest part for me was seeing everyone that was left behind. All the families and friends that knew all these people and cared about them so deeply, and seeing the aftermath of what was happening. And a lot of people ended up finding comfort in me, and they confided with me about like what they were feeling and all the issues that came about because of these horrible situations. And meanwhile, the situation wasn't getting any better at my high school. People are continuously talking about college admissions, talking about their homework, overloading themselves with classes and extracurriculars, and it's really hard to avoid, right? It's really hard to avoid that when everyone around you is doing that. And I think that this was the root of the issue here, was that all of these students were coming to school and were trying to do their best and trying to get into college just to get into college. There was no passion. There was nothing that like sparked them. And I think the reason I'm here is because that was different for me. I loved school. I'm like a nerd, just like most of or all of you. Like I liked doing homework. I loved going home and like practicing piano for a bit, and then like doing my homework and then going to bed. And like sometimes I hung out with people. But really, I put my free time. I certainly hung out with people, I'm exaggerating, but I put my free time into things that I like doing. I put my free time into doing extra music. I put my time into doing musicals on the side, tutoring kids, programming projects that I thought were interesting. And it's because I liked it. That's what I wanted to do with my time. And it didn't really matter how little sleep I was getting or how it was affecting my health, because I loved it. And that's not something to take away from this talk. But as long as I was doing things that I liked, I realized that I was happy and that I was in I realized that I was happy, and and that's what kept me smiling through high school, even though all this stuff was happening around me, and it was hard, and it was like miserable sometimes, and I somehow, through doing the things I loved, I continued to smile. And this realization that people and the people around me in Palo Alto are working really hard to end up where they likely don't belong, right? All these people that are working their butts off to get into Harvard, do they belong at Harvard? Do they really want to be at Harvard because that's what they want to do? And I think that's where the root of the issue was for me at Gunn. So I made it to CMU, and we took this picture. And just a month, I think, into my first semester at CMU, there was a suicide here. And it was like a really strange thing for me, because I left this place of like despair and stress, and at orientation, the things you see are happiness and quirkiness and follow your dreams and do all these things. And all of a sudden, I'm like reflecting, and I see that, did I go to the right place? Is this problem following me? Did I end up in the wrong space? Like, did I make the wrong choice? But I realized that I didn't, and that's because I noticed immediately that the resources here, Student Life Office, Student Activities Office, Greek Life Office, all these adults that are in place here, their sole job is to help us, and they are the adults that have carried me and you through our years here. And I don't think I would be able to accomplish the things that I'm going to be talking about next without those people. And it was so apparent, like instantly when this occurrence happened, that this was a very different place from my high school. And I'm glad that I was right. The other thing I noticed is that students here were passionate, right? And Ruben, you talked about that a little bit. But people, even if they haven't found what they like doing, or they haven't found the path to accomplishing what they want to accomplish, they have something in them, and they know that they're passionate about something, and they just have to find that spark in them. So the first thing I did as a freshman is I joined Greek Life, and that's me in my previous haircut. And this was really weird for me, because I was the last person that would hop on the Greek Life train ever. And it was a unique experience, though, because I learned a ton from essentially building a chapter, building a business, really. And we made a ton of mistakes. So many mistakes along the way. And those are the kinds of experiences that really allow you to become a better leader. It's the brothers around me that supported me throughout this whole process. It's the accomplishments that we've made. It's the money that we've raised for charity. It's the events we've put up. It's all these things that have made me like analytical about how to run an organization, how to run a business, how to act in social environments that I've never seen before coming to Carnegie Mellon. I also learned that Greek life isn't for everybody, but I think the biggest takeaway from this is that you can make a bold decision that you never thought you would and benefit from it. You don't have to join an organization just because you think you'll immediately fit in it. It's actually really nice to join an organization that you might not fit in immediately, but you think will help you grow tremendously in the long run. And that really fits into the next organization too. Not the next one, but the following one. But stay on this slide. The next thing that I joined was academic development, and it's funny that this lecture is happening in this room, because this is like where like my career in ECE started, and that's kind of where it's ending. But I also don't have any pictures of me at academic development, so this is what you get. But like I said, I was tutoring throughout high school, and I had all kinds of teaching experiences. So it was like a really good fit for me. And you heard Ruben talk about multiple intelligences and all that good stuff that we all work on academic development, and I've been fortunate enough to have worked with probably around 500 ECE students at this point throughout my 3 years of working in academic development. And that's, like I said earlier, it's the things that I can, it's helping other people and making other people succeed that really brings me happiness, and that's like a very interesting selfish, selfless balance. And even more in a bigger meta way, I'm now a supervisor for the SIXL leaders, so I get to help leaders improve other people's lives and also improve themselves. So that's been an incredible experience and very rewarding. So next slide. When I talked about joining orgs that you think can help you grow, even though you don't fit in them initially, this is the prime example of that. I did not sing when I came to college, and I joined this org, or I was let into this organization on faith alone, and it's a miracle that I can sing now. But yeah, this organization has helped me grow in ways that I could never imagine. It supported me in taking music classes here, and it pushed me to actually pursue something outside of my major in a really concrete way. It pushed me to think big, always. It allowed me to travel around the country and perform in front of thousands of people, which is not something I will get to do when I graduate. It also brought me some of my closest friends that I'll ever meet and that I will always be in touch with. And for the first time in my life, I found something that I prioritized above classes, and I'm sorry, Gina and Renee, but but this is the first thing in my life that I prioritized above school and academics, and that's, like I said earlier, I love homework and school, and this was above that, which is it was a really weird realization for me, and the even stranger part is that this will likely never contribute to my career ever. So it's really good that I'm investing a lot of hours in it. Yeah, so more pictures of me. So reflecting on my time here, throughout, I realized that along the way just again to summarize a little bit, I realized how many resources there are here, right? We have adults here that their sole job is to be your resource. And I think there's this stigma around campus that we need to be independent and we need to, you're in college now, you're an adult, you should figure it out on your own. But why, they're here for, literally just for you. And reaching out to those people has been so beneficial to me in every point that I can think of that I have reached out to them. They've solved every problem that I've ever had that I reached out to them about. They're also amazing people with amazing stories, and it's great to listen to those every once in a while. And I also learned that if you try hard enough, CMU will support your initiatives. If you have a great idea, like First Lectures, like the leadership seminar that happens over winter break, like all the other campus initiatives that Student Senate puts up, all these ideas can come to fruition if you reach out to the right people at CMU. I realized that along the way I started doing things and I stopped doing them because I hated them. And saying no is sometimes the hardest thing you have to do. I'm definitely a yes man. I say yes to everything. And I've had to learn to say no to some things. Because you've got to learn to commit to what you're committed to and not spread yourself too thin, which is what I do all the time. Along the way, there were times where I wanted to stop doing things that I already committed to. And the problem with that was that I was putting, like I said, I spread myself too thin. And I put myself in situations where I was working on things that weren't meaningful to me. But in those situations, it's important to look at the bigger picture too, right? We have to look at why you're doing what you're doing for the bigger purpose, right? And we have to, and if you truly do love what you're doing, you should be able to find a reason as to why you're doing it. And if you don't, you should stop doing it. And if it was that easy, I would do that all the time. But that's important. It's important to consider before you get into these situations. Along the way, I had the toughest couple months of my life just a couple months ago. For the first time in my life, I felt discriminated against for being who I am, for being Jewish. I had a really difficult end of a relationship. I did not enjoy my classes last semester for the first time at my CMU career, and it just seemed like all these things were like not going my way. But somehow I always found time to smile and be happy. And it's because I've had friends that have been amazing to me all the time. And it's the little things, it's the little things in your day that will make you happy. And it's the little things that will get you through every single day. Look at the good outcomes and look at the fuller half of the glass. And like, it's hard sometimes, right? Like some days it was like miserable. But other days were the days that got me to here. I think the biggest thing I did last semester that helped me was talking to people and finding the time to talk to people, even when I knew that I didn't have time to do it. Because that is what will get you through those terrible times. And the other thing that you can do in those situations is find time to support other people, because supporting other people will also, like, even though you're going through whatever you're going through, supporting other people will make you happier. And I can attest to that. And again, like I said, I had my moments, I had my tough days, I had my tough weeks, but I tried to figure it out and smile whenever I could. And looking back at my 4 years, smiling was not only the thing that got me through CMU, it's really what's driven my success here. So to conclude, smile because a lot of things come together in order for you to be where you are today. Look back at your family history, you're probably very lucky to even be in existence. Smile because you are doing what you love, because if you are really doing what you love, you will love putting in the hard work and it will pay off. Smile because you have an amazing network of people around you and amazing resources at your fingertips that want you to succeed and be happy. Smile because you're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn from them. Smile because you found something you love here and you're going to give it everything you have, even if it won't advance your career in any way. Smile because your friends and family care about you unconditionally. And smile because times get hard, but they always get better. And if you're not smiling, consider that a checklist and make changes in your life that can help you smile for that reason, or for those reasons, or for other reasons. And that's it. Thank you.